And now, all things real estate with Cleve Gaddis of Gaddis Partners RE/MAX Center, the most comprehensive resource for property information in Metro Atlanta. Buying or selling, first home or last, Gaddis Partners will help you be sure about decisions you make by using their exclusive Sure Home buying and selling systems. Learn more at GoGaddis.com. Go Gaddis, and let's get moving. Here's your host for all things real estate, Cleve Gaddis.
Welcome to All Things Real Estate. We appreciate you joining us for another week of the show, and I am accompanied again today by my trusty friend and producer, Jeff Davis.
We are friends, aren't we?
Absolutely. Jeff,
welcome
welcome to the show again. Thank you.
And do you like me?
Yes, I do. Now, is this
just wanted to know
what type of show is this? By the way, is this let's all feel better about ourselves today?
Dr. Laura.
Hey, so let's tell everybody out there in the world we like you. Do you like us?
Well, thank you. Go take on the day, Cleve.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
Hey, anything fun happened in your life over the last week? Now we
just
recorded.
Got back from Fripp Island Resort.
Oh, nice.
How long
were you
is?
there?
Have you been there?
It's near Charleston. Is that correct?
So I would say it's about halfway between Charleston and Hilton Head, if you know.
Okay.
A little closer to Hilton Head.
Now, is that an annual vacation
we
destination for your
once
family?
Or twice a year, yeah.
Nice.
We
Just you and your wife this time, or?
No, we took my sister-in-law and my niece.
Wonderful.
Actually came with us. There's four of us.
Long weekend, a full week, or
what?
what?
Yeah, just a long weekend. We had a blast. Oh, the place is gorgeous, and there's deer everywhere.
Where do you stay? And by the way, we're going to connect this to All Things Real Estate in that you live in Atlanta, you have a place to get to the beach. Certainly our ability to get to the beach drives real estate value, so therefore let's talk about Fripp Island.
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to continue on. When you go there, where do you stay? And let me tell you why I'm asking. We have always, in the Gaddis family, traditionally been a Gulf Coast family. I'm not sure why. We used to go to Sanibel Island, which is way down Fort Myers in Florida as a kid. But we would go to Destin. We would go to Panama City. We were always a Gulf Coast family. And over the last few years, I've decided, I'm going to start taking my family to the Atlantic coast. So we went to Amelia Island a couple of years ago, had a blast. Went to St. Simon's this year for our vacation, and it was just great. Because
you stayed at the King and Prince?
We stayed at the King and
Prince
Prince this time. That's
that.
Right. That's exactly right. And so we enjoy the nature part, which you don't get in the Gulf Coast.
Right.
And it's not that the Gulf Coast is not beautiful. We actually dropped my daughters off at a church retreat in Panama City after we finished our vacation in St. Simon's.
I'm glad to hear that, because after having that hot tub at your house that you just got, a hot tub. Ladies and gentlemen, he's got four teenage daughters. He got a hot tub.
I told you.
Explain that to me.
I got a hot tub and a deer stand.
Yeah.
By the way,
well, you need that church camp more than anything.
Yesterday, my wife and I were the only ones that used the hot tub. There were no young girls in it, and certainly
that you
no
know
boys.
of.
But I appreciate you always bringing that up, by the way. You give me a tremendous sense of confidence in the show. But when I looked for places to stay on Fripp Island, because I've looked at it before, it seemed to me that the places were fairly expensive. And it could be that most of the places had been taken and only the ones that were left were the very expensive ones. But where do you like to stay, and is it a reasonable place?
It was $315 a night.
Okay.
Well, and it was a house on Davis Love Drive. You know Davis Love?
Yes.
The third?
The golfer, exactly.
Yeah, and golf course designer.
Yep.
And four of us stayed in there. It was 3 bedrooms. It was beautiful. $315 a night. I thought it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. And was it on the water, on the beach, or off?
No,
the beach
we had golf course view this time.
Okay,
but you can get the other view too.
Now, did you play golf when you were there?
I haven't golfed in years. You're not a golfer either.
I am a golfer. I don't play very often.
You're so busy, I can't see.
Well, it's interesting. I grew up playing at the Atlanta Athletic Club. My father moved to the Peachtree Corners area, or took the whole family. It wasn't just him. In 1979, because he wanted to be a member of the club. He always wanted to play golf, and he had a foursome that he played in. He played in the same foursome for probably 15 years. They played every Sunday, and interestingly enough, over the last week, or last actually 9 days, the Atlanta Athletic Club was the host of the U.S. Amateur Golf Tournament, which is the oldest golf tournament in the United States.
Wow.
There were 312 amateurs from all over the world. They play match play, so they play low score for the first couple of days, and they switch to match play, which is where you're playing your opponent, and you either you either square on the hole, you nobody gets a point, or one person wins a hole and one person gets no points, basically, right. And you're trying to basically beat only your opponent. So they go to 64, 32, 16, 8. I think
4.
That's 4 and 12. Wait a minute, that's too many days. But eventually, the last day is just 2 of them out there playing, and so I was actually a volunteer on the golf committee. We were actually helping with the merchandise. committee, and so I was able to go and watch a lot of the golf, and it is amazing to watch these 16, 17, 18, 20-year-old boys, most of them in college. There were certainly some people in their 50s, and the youngest was from 13, was 13 years old. I think he was from Rochester, New York.
Great golfers.
And it is amazing to watch these kids hit the ball. I mean, some of them just look like a rubber band. They just
How far do they drive?
And whack. I mean, I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say a lot of those guys, they're driving the ball 300 yards, over 300 yards. It's amazing. And so the two that were in the finals, and I'm sorry, I can't even remember their names. One was from Korea, a golfer at San Diego State, I believe, and he's the one who won. He was ranked 763 in the world when he won, and I'm embarrassed that I don't remember his name. But
Kim Young-moon.
Yeah, no, but it's something like that. Thank you very much for your racist comments. I appreciate that, Jeff. I'm proud of you. But he was ranked 763 in the world and won. And his swing was so very different than his opponent of that last day. It was really amazing because his opponent was really kind of all arms, and he was really all body. And he just kind of wind up and like unwind like a rubber band, and wham, just absolutely killed the ball.
Wow.
So we always wind up coming up with something to talk about that has nothing to do with real estate, but I enjoy it. It's probably some of my favorite parts of the show.
Wow.
Favorite parts of the show.
Yeah.
So you already asked me when I came in this morning, by the way. I've been the social coordinator this morning. For those of you who listen to the show often, you know we record these on Tuesday mornings, and so I was the coffee preparer and the water fetcher. And do you have everything you need this morning, Jeff?
Yeah, we're good. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Appreciate your work.
No, it's my pleasure. But you were asking me earlier how much more weight have I lost, and the answer is, and I have to give it on air because I feel like it gives me some accountability here, is I've actually gained 6 or 7 pounds in the last month.
You said 6 before we went on there. Now it's 6 or 7. Okay.
Well, it is what it is. It's some days it can be 8, and some days it can be 5 because your weight goes up and down every day a little bit, or mine does. But I started CrossFit yesterday.
I think that's a great idea.
And it's interesting. I'm doing the 101 course at a CrossFit place near my house. It's a 4-week program where you sort of learn the movements and do the introductory stuff. And they said, hey, well, run 200 meters and then come in and they teach you how to properly do a squat, and then they teach you how to do something where you're holding, they called it a bell something, I don't know, you're pulling this weight up over your head, then they're teaching you how to do the sit-ups properly, and then they run you through a sort of a 3 course, do 15, 12, 9 reps of each, and then you're running 200 meters. And when I was finished, the workout didn't take 9 minutes, it was very quick, but I swear my legs felt like noodles. I didn't know how, so you finish by running 200 meters, which is not very far, it's halfway around a track. And I did not know if I was going to. I thought I was going to fall down trying to run the 200
your legs
meters.
Were so wobbly.
One of my buddies was in the parking lot. He drove by and he saw me in there, and so he got out and he came in, and so I'm doing my last repetitions of sit-ups, and he's hoo ha hoo, making all these sound effects as I was doing the sit-up. So it was quite an event, and everybody in the place was wondering exactly what was going on.
Well, we're going to keep monitoring your weight.
Yes, and I'm going to. My goal.
How much have you lost though?
36 pounds.
So it was originally about 43 or something?
43 exactly. And I'd like to lose another 25, but not because I necessarily need to. Meaning it's not
more.
Well, it's not necessarily an appearance thing. It's more of I noticed
nothing's going to help that.
No, that's right. I mean, when you're born ugly, you're born. That's why I'm on the radio. That's why they don't have me on television.
Mother could love
that's why I'm not on television. But yeah, that's my goal. It's such good benefits with my blood pressure and everything else that I really want to keep it down so I can get totally off blood pressure medication. It's really my goal. So that's why I want to keep losing. Yep.
Yeah, I take blood pressure medication. Fortunately, I'm on the very minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very minimum, but
yeah,
I'd love to get off of it.
80 milligrams a day or 80 whatever it is a day is half of what I used to take, and that's what I'm down to now. I used to take 160-something with a diuretic, and I'm off the diuretic, and I'm taking half of a pill, and I seem to be getting better. My blood pressure's staying very reasonable, although every once in a while I am very sensitive to salt. So when I eat a lot of salt, my blood pressure really goes
Oh, that's why you didn't have the V8 juice.
That's that you offered me this morning in lieu of coffee. The problem is the V8 juice doesn't have enough caffeine for me for a morning radio
and too much
show.
Sodium.
Yeah, just so you know, by the way, I have no ability to keep up with time with me in front of me today, so you're going to have to make sure I know.
We've got a couple more minutes, 2-3 minutes.
When it's time for a break. Well, let's start out, before we take a break, and let's give some market overview, some statistics of what's going on in the market. We try to do this about once a month. So let's start out with single-family detached closings were down 4% in July of 2014 versus July of 2013, so down 4%. Single-family attached, which would be your townhomes and your condos, were up 10%. So that's kind of exciting. So the net of the total is the total sales were down 1.9% one year over the next, or this year over last year.
So there's a lot more detached than attached.
Well, it's interesting because the attached, there's a lot more detached units out there. So, for example, there were 5,416 detached closings in July, and there was 1,073. So the market is 5 times as large. Which makes sense because there's 5 times as many single-family detached homes out there as townhomes and condos, for the most part. So, but the market was down 1.9%. Now, from a pricing standpoint, the prices of single-family detached were up 8.17%. So they went from $252 last year to $273 this year. That's good. Good news for everybody. And then the average sales price for single-family attached, again, townhomes and condos, was up 14.7%. Interesting that this
is year to year.
This is just July versus July. I'm going to give you some year-to-date numbers in just a second, but so it's just July of 2014 versus July of 2013. So year-to-date, closings, these single-family detached closings are down 2% for the year, so we're at 32,732 this year, and single-family attached sales are up 5% this year, and that's year-to-date through the end of July. So total, the market is down 2.5%. We've had 2.5% less closings this year than last year. So we are continuing to make,
but for more money,
improvement for significant. So let's look at the average sales price. Now that you mentioned that, the average sales price for single-family detached homes is up 11% for the year to $252,111. Now, interesting. Notice that the average sales price in July was $273. The average sales price year-to-date is $252. Some of your higher price sales flow through the system as you get through the summer. People are relocating, trying to get ready for school. People moving with a couple kids, a couple dogs. They tend to spend more money on houses than your average family. Single-family attached average sales prices are up 13% for the year. So they are at $191,493 this year, up 13% this year, which is exciting. Now, inventory, and we try to talk about this every time. Single-family detached inventory is up 21% over last year. So inventory is going up, but sales prices are going up as well, and that's a good thing because sometimes when inventory rises, the average sales price will fall somewhat. So you're still everybody's house in Atlanta is worth more money today than it was this time last year, and then inventory in single-family attached is up 26%. So just to give you an example, and if you're working with a real estate agent out there who says, there's no inventory, we can't find you what you need, don't buy into that. Last year, July of 2013, there was 27,467 total listings in the Atlanta market available for sale. This year, there's 32,579. So that's a pretty
healthy
serious
increase.
Exactly right. We've got a couple more statistics we're going to review from the listing service. Let's take a quick break. I want to give my phone number one time before we take a break, though. It's 770-497-0000. If you need to reach me, you call that number, and I promise you can get a hold of me. 770-497-0000. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about a couple other market statistics, and then we'll talk about a bunch of other stuff. It's all things real estate. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
And now, back to All Things Real Estate with Cleve Gaddis. Visit GoGaddis.com.
Welcome back to All Things Real Estate. Cleve Gaddis, continuing on with Jeff Davis. We were talking about market statistics before we took our break. You asked me, by the way, in the middle of the break to make sure I give out my website as well, and I apologize for not doing that. You just visit GoGaddis.com. It's GoGaddis.com. All of the resources that we talk about on the radio show are available on our website. You'll be able to search all the listings. You'll be able to look at school chimp reports and all that kind of stuff, and we'll talk about some of those things a little later in the show.
I told you one of my favorite things to do, and I don't think a month goes by without me doing it. Because there are so many changes in the market.
And I'm not sure what this says about you, Jeff. It's one of your favorite things to do is to peruse Cleve's website. But I think it's great. I think you need more excitement in your life, Jeff. I'm going to be honest
I do
with
other
you.
things that I can't talk about.
Okay, yes. Thank you.
They're my favorite things to do.
Thank you for not talking about them.
Anyway, I like maybe at least once a month I'll go to GoGaddis.com.
Yep.
GoGaddis.com.
Yes.
On the homepage, I just type in the name of my subdivision, and it shows every home in my subdivision that's for sale.
Exactly.
So I can see what the homes in my subdivision are going for. It also gives me all kinds of information about each of those homes.
Right.
Including a picture not just of the exterior of each home, but a picture of the interior of each home, and I love it.
That's right, and it allows you to compare it to you. You use it for the specific purpose of comparing it to your home.
Correct.
Which is interesting because really most people don't look at their home as an investment like they should. They should look at it like a bank account. How does mine compare to the one down the street? In other words, do I have $325,000 in that bank account? Do I have $275,000? Do I have $450,000? Do I have $165,000? What do I need to do to the home to make it worth a little bit more money over time? And I think that's a very, very intelligent way to do it. You can go in to that website. You could type in the name of a school district, an elementary, a middle, a high school. It'll pull up all the listings for you. It'll pull up all the sales for you in those areas. You could punch in a zip code. You could put in a street name, and it would pull up everything for you on that street. So if you were driving around, you were on Alpine Drive, you could go in and type Alpine Drive, Lawrenceville, Georgia, boom, and pull up all the listings on that street for you as well.
But also the school district there and all the info about the school district, the value of the homes in a school district, the percentage of people who own versus the people who rent.
Yes. Now, in that case, you're going to have to switch over and get a school chimp report. But while you're on the website,
but I can get it from that website.
You can click on schoolchimp.com.
But I can access that from GoGaddis.com.
Absolutely. You can access all the old radio shows as well. You know, one thing that we're going to start doing, and you tell me what you think about this idea, we're going to have the radio shows transcribed. And have the transcription put out on the internet, because you and I talk about a lot of interesting information, and sometimes people don't want to listen to the entire show, but we can transcribe it, and they can go.
I blame them, but
well, no, I mean, sometimes life gets in the way. I mean, I think everybody should listen to it. I think it's an excellent show. We're going to talk about controversial stuff. We're going to talk about Ferguson, Missouri before the show is all over.
There you go.
So we'll get into some controversy. Let's go back and finish up the statistics real quickly. But there were 10,700 new listings entered into the system in July of 2014 versus 9,400 listed in July of 2013. Year to date this year, there have been 71,500 new listings versus 64,500 year to date in 2013. So it's nice. There's a lot more inventory coming in the market. And so if you're working with an agent, by the way, if you're working with an agent and you're not getting the type of service that you want, we don't want to interfere in your agreement with that agent. But if you're not happy, give us a call, 770-497-0000. Again, that's 770-497-0000.
And what areas do you cover?
Anything in Atlanta north of I-20. Anything in Atlanta north of I-20. We had a call last week from a buyer who was buying a new home, had gone all the way through the negotiations. They get through to the end. They're unrepresented, and they realize, hey, I haven't gotten anything out of this builder. I don't know what I'm doing. I need some help from somebody that understands. They call and talk with one of our client care specialists whose main job in the world is to care about them and their needs and what they're looking for. She referred them to one of our agents. They were able to get out of that contract, and that agent is our agent is going to be negotiating another contract either for that builder in that neighborhood or on maybe a better neighborhood with a better bargain and a better long-term value for someone. And you really need some help. You need some representation. All
right, so let me ask you again. I've asked you this many times.
Yes.
I'd like to ask you again.
Then you can't ask it anymore.
Well, not everybody listening today has listened to each one of our shows.
Okay, you're right.
We don't like to think that, but
all 6 million people in Atlanta don't listen to this show every single time?
All right, so in my subdivision, there's a lady. I can't remember her name. Well, actually,
let's call her Betty.
Betty. Okay. And she kind of has the reputation of being the specialist in our subdivision.
Yes.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Most subdivisions have somebody like this.
Yes.
Who specializes in our subdivision. Everybody uses her, it seems. Not everybody, but a lot of people use her. Because of that. And I'm wondering, is that advantageous or not?
I have a name for that. We're going to call them the default realtor, because I'm not sure specialist is the right way to refer to them. I'm not so sure that the people who sell the majority of the real estate in certain neighborhoods are the ones who know the most about it and the ones who have the most, and I'm going to say a detached understanding of the neighborhood, meaning you can't be just all emotional about the decisions you make. You have to be very logical, and you have to compare that neighborhood not only to itself, you have to compare it to other neighborhoods in the area.
Forest for the trees.
Exactly. Long story short, so I went on a listing appointment on Saturday, and it was actually a listener of the radio show. Now, this one actually works in Marietta, but lives in Johns Creek, so it's not too far from where I live.
Wow.
And her home is the first home in a neighborhood.
How does she get to work, I wonder? Not 285, please tell me.
Well, that's the way most people from that area would commute over, would be 285 from there. You don't have a lot of east-west connectivity, but that'll be a subject for another show. Don't have a lot of east-west connectivity in Atlanta. But her home was the first home in a neighborhood, and if you didn't know a lot about the area, you wouldn't really know what other neighborhoods to compare it to. And so because I'm not the one who sells all the homes in that neighborhood specifically, I'm able to have a wider view of where the value should come from and able to look at comparables. And we were able to help her understand that her house was probably worth, and this house will sell for $230-ish, I would say, that it was probably worth about $10,000 or $15,000 more than she thought it was worth.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
And it's interesting because her home was the first home. Her home is the first one as you go into the neighborhood. And there is an effect on value when you're right there at the front entrance. Well, and you say that quickly, I don't like that. And you're not the only one that would say that. And so we were able to identify the neighborhoods that are similar in her area, identify sales in similar situations, and project for her.
You mean first homes in the wow.
And then project for her what the net effect was on value over the last 6 months on those sales. And she was fascinated that we could do that for her. It takes a lot of work to do that, but the more you understand what's going on, just the better off you are.
What about the realtor who, Cleve, brags, that I get the home sold quicker than anybody else? That to me sounds like there's a double-edged sword there.
There is, and you want somebody that sells it quickly. You'd like somebody in today's our average days on the market last year were probably 53 start to finish, but that includes the listings we did sell.
Okay, but if you could get me an extra $10,000 to $12,000, isn't that what you said?
Yeah.
By keeping it on the market for another 2 weeks,
yeah,
I'm all over that.
Ideally, you want marketing times to be between 15 and 30 days today. You really do. If it sells on the first or second or third day, you probably could have gotten more. And by the way, if you list it, and we don't always pick the price that pushes the market quite high enough. We just sold a little townhome over in Smyrna. In fact, the highest sales price when we sold one over there last year was like in the 80s, and then we sold one for $115, and everybody thought we were crazy. And then we just sold one for $140. So we're really trying to push values back in the right place. And we did get offers, and we got them very quickly. So we had to use some specific strategy with that seller so that they weren't motivated to accept the first offer and move on. We had to wait and see if the market could give us a little bit more money.
Is that part of your job?
To work it all out. And that's what I do. That's me.
To teach them this?
That's me. And
calm them down a little bit.
So I say, hey, let's just wait a minute. Let's see what else we get coming in. Then we got 4, and we're able to push offers. And we got a cash offer from one buyer's agent. That didn't work. She brought another offer with cash, closing actually this Friday, believe it or not. And we just got it under contract last week. It's very interesting.
Cleve, when you tell me that Gaddis Partners RE/MAX handles anything north of I-20,
yes.
Let's say. All right, already you've mentioned 3 areas in the metro that are geographically diverse.
Yes.
Johns Creek, Marietta, and Smyrna.
That's
wow.
right. That's exactly right. And we were in Woodstock over the weekend, too. To another listener, by the way, a good old Army vet, and we had the best visit.
Good.
I'll tell you about that later on. I'll tell you about it. We might talk about it this show. If not, you'll have to stay tuned, and we'll talk about it next show. But it was a very, very interesting.
I don't know if I can stand the excitement, but
you're going to have to. You're going to be around. You're going to be around for the next show anyway. So
I can't wait to read some of these transcripts.
Well, you know the way this works, Jeff. I mean, we're supposed to have something on this show that makes people want to listen to the next show. That's supposed to be good radio.
It's called a tease.
Yeah, I don't know what's called a tease, but whatever. It is what it is. Hey, let's talk about something else. We're going to talk about things to do with credit. We're going to talk about them in today's show right now, or actually we'll do it after we take a break, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit.
Do we have to talk about credit?
Yeah, well, we do. There's some very interesting things that are happening, Jeff. So let's take a quick break. We're going to talk about some of the plans for including rental history in credit reports, which is very exciting to help increase homeownership. We'll do that right after the break. We'll be right back.
And now, back to All Things Real Estate with Cleve Gaddis. Visit GoGaddis.com.
Welcome back to All Things Real Estate. Jeff, as a whole, you and I have very interesting conversations when we're off the air.
We do.
Sometimes you talk about things that are inappropriate, but I won't bring that up. So the listening audience, I'm just kidding. You don't actually. But before we took the break, we were talking about credit reports, and you can get them from 3 major credit. You have Experian, you have Equifax that is here in Atlanta, and you have TransUnion, are the 3 biggest aggregators of credit information. And you mentioned that, hey, people can use your credit score in making decisions for employment.
Right.
And
potential employer.
And they do that quite often.
And check out your credit.
And why would somebody who's got bad credit might be listening thinking that's not fair. They shouldn't be able to do that. But the truth of the matter is, I got to be careful, by the way. I say the truth of the matter all the time, and that's one of the other things that I'm starting to that I'm trying to stop saying.
I'm assuming you've been truthful the whole time,
Yeah, well, it makes it sound like everything else I've said up to this point is not truthful, so therefore now I'm going to switch pushover and be truthful.
but I know you better than
but I'm actually trying to be truthful all the time. So when you have somebody that doesn't take care of their own personal business, in other words, they don't pay their bills on time, and sometimes you've got people that have situations that are beyond their control. They've lost jobs, they've got medical bills, all that type of thing, and the credit will reflect those. But if you have somebody that just doesn't take care of their own business, then the odds are they're not going to do what they need to take care of your business. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. So these credit scores are used in many specific situations. But the credit aggregator Experian, I think located on the West Coast. Equifax is actually headquartered
It used to be called TRW years ago, wasn't it?
I'm not sure if TRW is TransUnion or Experian. I'm not sure. You could be right. You could be right. I don't.
I am right.
Listen, since you're my senior, I do not question you for the past. I did that one time about the deductibility of credit card interest, and I was wrong. And
That's right.
You proved it to me on the air. You did your research and proved it to me on the air.
I've reminded you of it several times.
Yes, exactly. Thank you very much. I appreciate you pointing out that I'm wrong. You don't have to stay around too long to find me being wrong on something, but that's okay. I'll normally admit it. But Experian is. They've done some research. The National Poverty Center has done some research, and it says, hey, certain segments of the population who should be allowed to be in a position to purchase a home are not being allowed to purchase a home because they don't have established credit files. And so Experian is experimenting. Experian is experimenting. That's hard to say, actually.
Yeah.
Say that 3 times fast. And with including rental history. So they're basically experimenting with giving people credit for their rental payments over the last few years to help establish a credit score.
How do you feel about that? Being a property manager as well as a realtor.
I think that's great. Now, we, as a property manager, if someone does not pay their rent, we're going to make sure that it gets on their credit report anyway because we're going to file against it. And so we'll show they have outstanding rental payments, and it'll affect their credit score negatively. But you have to be a member of those. You have to have a way of reporting to the credit bureaus. But I think when somebody is a tenant and they have on-time rental payments for the last 1, 2, or 3 years, I think they should be given credit for that because that's really the same as making your mortgage payment on time. In the mortgage situation, they've loaned you $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, and you're paying back that loan. But when you think about it, in a tenant situation, the landlord has loaned you the house. I mean, they've given you that $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 asset, and and you should be able to be judged based on your ability to pay that back. And I really mean this from you should be able to be judged positively when you deserve it, so that you could get yourself at a position where you could buy a home. Because in Atlanta's market today, you can purchase a home for probably 75 cents on the dollar what it would cost you to buy it. I mean, what it cost you to lease it, so you can purchase it for 75% on the dollar, 75 cents on the dollar of what it cost you to lease it.
All right, can I brag on you for a moment, give you a plug here?
Sure.
Your property management division.
Yes.
No, you're a realtor. You're a residential realtor, but
Yes.
you also have a property management company.
Correct.
A separate company.
Correct.
What is the percentage of rents that you collect as on behalf of your landlords?
Well, we have collected 100% over the last 3.5 years.
Wow!
But you're going to have to stop mentioning that because you're gonna jinx me, and we're going to have a problem. It's unusual for somebody to collect that high of a percentage of the rent. And I didn't say we collected 100% on time.
What percentage is on time? 93%? Something?
It's
that is amazing.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's actually a little over 95% that's collected on time. But generally, we're collecting. I mean, it's 95% collected on time. It's 100% collection when you said what do we collect within a 30-day period of it being due. We don't manage that many properties, so we try to keep our portfolio under 50, 55 properties. We might grow a little bit larger than that, but we really want to manage properties for people who really want a real high level of property management. That's really what we're looking to do. And so, we give the property good attention. We give the owner good attention. But anyway, that's very interesting that Experian is going to start to do that, include people's rental history in the criteria for rating credits, for producing a credit score. I think that's something that's going to be interesting overall. Let's talk real quickly about new homes and the difference in new home pricing versus resales. Been on several appointments lately. Buyers and sellers wanting to understand, well, how much more should a new home cost than almost the same identical resale? And I went into a little neighborhood right in Alpharetta on Highway 9 over the weekend. Let's say they built 12 of 40 houses. They're single-family attached houses, but they're only attached by a little storage area between the house. So it looks to me like the builder got approval to build townhomes, decided to build single-family detached homes, and the city wouldn't let them because they built them 10 feet apart, which is that's a zero lot line is when you have 5 feet on each side.
But this is as close to apart as you can get.
Yeah, but so what happens is there's maybe a 10-foot wide storage area that connects the units. So there's really just a small, almost like a breezeway that connects the two, but you can't get from one to the other. Anyway, these units originally sold in the mid threes. Our particular client paid maybe $260,000 for theirs because they bought it when the market was really bad. They bought it in 2008 when the builder knew they were going to have some problems. And so they're selling new construction in the area now for $360,000, $365,000. And so a builder's come in and is finishing everything up. And so our client is trying to maximize their value. Now, in this particular case, the resales recently are selling for about 90% of the value of the new. But in an economically balanced market, the economists say that resale will sell for 80% of the new. And they're saying somebody's willing to pay a 20% premium for a house that doesn't have anybody else's cooties on it. And I hate to say that, but that's exactly what they're saying. So you need to be very sensitive. And over the next couple of years, if you're looking to sell something, you need to get a good understanding of what's going on with the new home market in the area. The ideal situation would be you live in an area where you have $300,000 or $400,000 homes, and all of the new construction neighborhoods are $500,000, $600,000, or $700,000. Because see, that's not your competition. Those are not competing with you. The problem is when you live in an area with $300,000 or $400,000 houses, and the builder comes in with new product at $450,000. Now you've got a problem because people can choose that over yours.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a stretch for them, but they can do it.
And they will pay 20% more for a new home versus a resale. So we know that there is a lot of new construction coming down the pike right now. So we're going to see a lot of things over the next couple of years.
Let me ask you a question
Yes.
that comes to mind, Cleve Gaddis, and that is that a resale, maybe the answer is obvious, but the older the home is, does it correspondingly go down in value depending on the age of it? In other words, that doesn't happen with cars necessarily, because a car, as soon as you drive it off the lot, there's tremendous depreciation right then and there.
Yeah, the answer is no. And you'd be surprised at how you take a little old home built in the late 60s, for example, somewhere near Decatur, maybe be 1,500 square feet, and that house might be worth $200, $225 a square foot for that house. Where you take a newer home in your area, that home might sell for $130 or $140 a square foot. So sometimes it's the location. In fact, not sometimes, almost all the time it is the location of the home that drives the value. Now, if you get to where you're further away from employment corridors, you're further away from good schools, then you could have the older the home, the more negative pressure there is on pricing.
Well, in general, is a 40-year-old home worth so much less than a 20-year-old home?
No, not at all. Some of the investment property
That's good, because my home is 40 years old.
Yeah, and some of the investment property we own down in the Piedmont Park area is that stuff is 100 years old.
Wow.
But it's not cheap. Anything around Piedmont Park is not cheap. So it's really a more of a factor of where it is. And I know you can rest easier. You'll be able to sleep well tonight now that we've given you that information. Hey, let's take a quick break. If you need to reach us, 770-497-0000 is the number. One more time, 770-497-0000. I'm not just a radio host. I'm a practicing everyday real estate broker in Atlanta, Georgia. My little firm will probably sell 170, 200 houses this year. Most of the people who deal with our firm get to deal with me, and I'd love to be able to take care of you. So if you need us, give us a call. Let's take a quick break, and I'm going to talk about the importance of buyer lag in the market today, the importance of buyer lag. I got you intrigued, so stay with us, and we'll be right back in a few minutes.
And now, back to All Things Real Estate with Cleve Gaddis. Visit GoGaddis.com.
Welcome back to All Things Real Estate. Thanks for sticking with us. We are going to talk a little bit about buyer lag, and you looked at me with a little intrigue in your eyes before we took
Never
the
heard
break.
the term.
Well, that's because I just made it up earlier, but that's okay. I'm happy to
Sort of
make
like
up.
Clevenomics.
Exactly. No, that's an official. You didn't find that in the dictionary, Clevenomics?
Your picture is
Yes, I didn't actually
above it.
say Clevenomics when I did the Clevenomics section today, but the Clevenomics segment today was the market statistics, and I hope everybody enjoyed those. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about buyer lag that's going on in this market today and some encouraging things. But let's do our lowdown on the hood segment first. We've got to make sure we got our cool music out there, and I know our wonderful production person is going to take care of that. But we're going to talk about Medlock Bridge subdivision, which is right in the heart of Johns Creek. It's at Medlock Bridge Road, just north of State Bridge Road, basically across the street from St. Ives Country Club, generally. It's a big subdivision. There's probably 600 homes in the subdivision. They built it over a 20-year period, which is very common for subdivisions out there.
20-year period.
Yeah, started in the 80s, finished it in 2000 or even after 2000 sometimes. But in 2007, that was the year they had the highest average sales price in the over time, and the average sales price was $433,300. Went from a low of $285 to a high of $605. The low sales price was in 2009, 2 years later, so they were about a year before most areas. Most areas in Atlanta hit the low in 2010, but the average sales price was $341,306, low of $240 to high of $455. And then in the past 6 months, the average sales price has been $431,192. So the prices went down 21.23% from their high, and then they went back up 20.85% from their low. So they went down 91,000. They went up 89,000. Sounds to me like you've got a neighborhood. This market is just about where it was at its all-time high. It's kind of exciting when you think about it. There are currently 8 homes listed for sale. The average asking price is $439,700. There are 3.31 months worth of supply, which means it's still a seller's market, but the inventory is creeping up. So it's starting to creep up to become a balanced market. I said there's about 600 homes in the neighborhood. I forget that there's a total listed on this sheet right here, which is 593 homes. So my guess was really pretty good. And then so the total equity increase of homeowners in the neighborhood from 2009 to 2014 is $53.3 million. Medlock Bridge in Johns Creek. And that's in Medlock Bridge Elementary, Altry Mill Middle School, and Johns Creek High School District. And I put that on there because you asked me on last week's show the name of a high school, and I did not have it. And I am supposed to be the high school expert in Atlanta. And I said to myself through my research assistant, Joanna, to make sure that I had that information available on all future shows. And although I should know that one because...
By the way, how's, if you don't mind me asking, there's a term called Cussin' Cleve. How's Cousin Cleve doing? C-U-S-S-I-N.
Yeah, C-U-S-S-I-N.
Not cousin.
Yeah, I'm not cousin. Thank you very much for mentioning that. Joanna, who is she's my value analyst, and she and I work very closely together on anything to do with value, and she helps do all the research for the radio shows. I think she wants me to keep cussing forever. She actually, when a cuss word slips out, and mine are really never bad, but they're still curse words. And when it starts to slip out, she gets a little smile on her face, and I can see her making a little check mark. So
she just made $10.
Yes, it was about $60 or $80 a week for the first few weeks, and now it's about $20 or $30 a week. But I think over the last couple of days, it's been $20 or $30, $40 for the last few days. But the word, and it's interesting though, because now when a curse word starts to come out of my mouth, about halfway through it coming out of my mouth, I realize I can't stop it. It's already kind of slipped out. But sometimes in the middle, I'll just and then stop.
So do you owe her the $10?
Oh yeah. Oh, there's no whatever she puts on the list, I'm going to pay her because it's all about trying to make sure that Cleve does not curse any more than he needs to, and I'm glad. It's a matter of cleaning up. She said.
It's funny because I know you pretty well. You don't impress me as being a cusser.
Yeah, but most of the time you and I are together, we're on the radio. You dumb SO. No, I'm just kidding.
Joanna, help.
No, see, I don't have to pay for that one. It was just SO, and plus that's not really a curse word. It could mean different things to different people. So where are we time wise, by the way?
Oh, we've got about 8 minutes left.
Perfect. And
7 minutes.
By the way, my wife Michelle, who came with me a couple of weeks ago to watch us do these shows, she told me to tell you hello, and that she was fascinated by what you and I do here together in the studio. She thought that was pretty cool. How it all works and how we keep it all going. Mm-hmm. And I told her, I said, honey, I think Jeff and I are probably wired up a little bit differently than you, in that really talking just kind of comes natural.
I invited her to join us, and she didn't want to talk.
No, she didn't want to do that. She's not. That's not her forte. That's not what she wants to do, is be on the radio, and that's fine. She's good at that stuff. She's a fabulous mother. She is a great mother and a fantastic wife.
Well, that's worth its weight in gold.
It's interesting. I watch her with those girls, and I think to myself, man, where would I be if I did not have somebody who understood kids so well, helping me with that journey? Because
4 teenage daughters,
yes,
folks.
and I'm pretty sure that they would all be crazy, and I would all be crazy if I was the only one responsible for parenting them.
Wow.
And it's not they're not bad kids. They're great kids.
They're very good kids.
Fantastic kids.
I've met 3 of them.
The problem is that they're girls and I'm a boy, and other people who like them are boys, and I just don't like them any. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is.
Hey, just remember this,
Yes.
though, that a lot of their image of male
Comes
men,
from me.
Yep.
Comes from me. There's no doubt about it.
They're watching you.
There's no doubt about it. And they're watching specifically how I treat their mother. They're watching specifically how I treat their mother. Real quick, if you need to get a good idea of what's going on in your neighborhood, in your area, visit GoGaddis.com. People do this. Hundreds of people do this every week, and everybody needs to do this. It is such valuable information. Go to GoGaddis.com, GoGaddis.com. One more time, GoGaddis, GoGaddis.com.
When you say Gadd, you
Yes.
mean like D as in David.
David.
Not T as in Tom.
Yes, or somebody said, you mean like D as in dog? And I said, no, not D as in dog. D as in David. What's wrong with you? Yes.
Well, there's a very famous ball player with the same name, but his is with a T.
Yes, Gattis. We should probably get GATTIS.com too, just so anybody can find us. But it's GADDIS.com. So GoGaddis.com. Click on Home Values and ATL. It'll take you to a market snapshot page real simply. Put in your street number, put in your street address, put your name, put your email address so it's easy for the reports to get to you. Give a little information, bedrooms, bathrooms, maybe square footage, just so that the report can be very accurate for you, because you know that we will give you information on those market snapshots. It's not necessarily in your neighborhood. It's just nearby you, but it's comparable properties to you. And they might be a little more expensive, less expensive, but they're similar size, similar bedrooms, bathrooms. So when you do that, Jeff, every month you're going to get a market snapshot report from us, and it's going to show you what's going on in the market around you, which I think is huge, and everybody needs to have that, because it's like getting a monthly statement on your bank account to show you how much money you have, what's happening to the values. I don't know about you, but if my home is my biggest investment, and for most people it is, I like to get an understanding, is my investment going up in value? Is my investment going down in value? Because if I want to spend $3,000 or $4,000 doing something in the kitchen, or painting this or painting that, and we're getting ready to redo our garage, so we're going to paint everything, clean it all up, redo, put an epoxy.
Oh, wait a minute, is it going to be a 3-car garage? That was always your dream.
It will not be a 3-car garage. Unfortunately, it's a 2-car garage, and the way my house is built, the lot wouldn't allow us to add a 3rd-car garage without putting in a ton of fill dirt. It's a fully exposed basement level, so you can't really go out to this. Basically, the right-hand side of the house was built on fill dirt, if you will, and that's where the driveway is and the garage is. So we're going to have a 2-car garage, and that's fine. We've got some extra parking pads off to the side of the driveway, but we're going to have epoxy finish and really fix it up nice. Well, I mean, if my house is going up in value significantly over the last couple of years, then it's no big deal to spend $3,000 or $4,000 doing stuff in the garage. And it probably won't cost
Get
us
it all
that much
back
anyway.
eventually.
Eventually, you're exactly right. So it really helps us make decisions. So again, it's GoGaddis.com, GoGaddis.com. Don't wait. When you get home tonight, sometime tomorrow, log on, click on Home Values and ATL, fill out the information for the Market Snapshot Report, and you will be totally in the know when it comes to everything that's going on in your market. Let's talk about buyer lag. Now, let's say you had 10,000 buyers. This is not the right number, but let's say you had 10,000 buyers that expected to buy a home in Atlanta from March of 2014 through August of 2014. Okay, can we just agree for our pretend? And let's say that only 7,500 of those bought a home during that period because they were convinced that the inventory they were looking for, the home they were looking for, was not available in the market. My question for you is, what happens to the other 2,500?
You mean the ones who were convinced that there was no home in the market
That's right.
for
So
sale?
7,500 of the 10,000 were able to be successful, find a home, close on a home, be there before school, whatever the timing was. It still leaves 2,500 of the 10,000 that did not buy a home during sort of the prime buying season. And my question for you is, what happens to those 2,500?
That's a good question. They just
And in my opinion,
stay in a holding pattern?
It's called buyer lag. And so normally most of the people that want to buy before July or August is over, or September, they've done it. They were successful. It's a 95% number, not a 75% number. Well, it could be as low as 75% in today's market. And some percentage of those number, and it's a very high percentage of that 2,500, they are just going to get pushed into buying in August, September, October, November, December. So if you want to sell a house and you think it's too late to sell a house because you've missed the prime school season, especially when you get in the best of the school districts, those 10 or 11 that we talk about that are rated 100, people are very sensitive to buying in those neighborhoods while the school season is changing so they can be ready for schools. Don't think you need to wait until next March or April to put your house on the market, because some of those buyers were unsuccessful in sort of achieving their goal by the beginning of August when school started, but they're still out there looking. So if you're thinking of selling, we might have a stronger fall and winter selling season this year than we have in many, many years. And it's interesting because I try to look at the market, from a 30,000-foot level. It's what we do here on the radio show. But every day I spend looking at the market from a 3-foot level, meaning I am in the market every single day. And I will tell you, there is tremendous pent-up buyer demand out there.
Wow.
I see it every day.
Wow.
And it's interesting because if you'll just go ahead now, you're going to have to be a little bit more realistic with your price. So you'd say, hey, I'm going to get $450, but we all knew it was really only worth $420, and you would have gladly taken $410. Well, you probably needed to get that $420 or $422 price, something like that. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next radio show.
Fascinating.
But there's plenty of bent-up buyer demand out there. Hey, if you need to reach us, call us at 770-497-0000. One more time, 770-497-0000, or visit GoGaddis.com, GoGaddis.com. Gaddis is my last name, and as I say every week, I guarantee you that you'll be happy. Just give us a call and tune in next week, 1 o'clock on Friday.
This has been All Things Real Estate with Cleve Gaddis of Gaddis Partners, RE/MAX Center, the most comprehensive resource for property information in Metro Atlanta. Buying or selling, first home or last, Gaddis Partners will help you be sure about decisions you make by using their exclusive Sure Home Buying and Selling systems. Learn more at GoGaddis.com. Go Gaddis, and let's get moving. All Things Real Estate, Fridays at 1 p.m. only on News Talk 1160, The Talk of the Town.